Tonight, we journey to the vast lands where the eagle soars and the buffalo roam. This is Turtle Island, the continent that many know as North America. But to the first peoples who walked these sacred grounds, this land was alive with spirit voices. Every mountain peak held counsel with the sky, every river carried prayers to the great waters, every tree stood as witness to the endless conversation between earth and heaven. Before you settle into this voyage through Native American wisdom, take a moment to like this video if these ancient teachings bring peace to your spirit. Let me know in the comments where you are listening from tonight. Tell me what time it is in your corner of the world as we gather in this sacred circle to honor the oldest voices of this continent. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine ancient America. Picture what it must have been like to live in a world where every creature was your relative, where the four-legged, the winged ones, the swimmers and the crawlers all shared the same sacred breath of life. The Native American understanding of the sacred was not separate from daily existence, but woven into every moment of life. The Great Spirit did not dwell in distant realms, but moved through every sunrise. The Great Spirit breathed through every wind. The Great Spirit spoke through every animal that crossed the path. This was a continent where hundreds of different tribes developed their own unique relationships with the divine forces that governed their particular landscapes. Yet beneath this rich diversity lay common understandings that connected all indigenous peoples in a vast web of spiritual kinship. The creation stories told by different tribes across Turtle Island all speak of a world brought into being through the cooperation of spirit beings and animal helpers. These tales teach that humans were not placed here as masters of creation, but as younger siblings learning to live in harmony with all relations. The Iroquois speak of Sky Woman who fell through a hole in the heavens and was caught by the great seabirds. The animals dove to the bottom of the endless waters to bring up mud that they placed on Turtle's back. This earth grew into the continent where all beings could find their home. The Lakota tell of how the white buffalo calf woman brought the sacred pipe to the people. This holy woman appeared when the tribe was starving. She taught them how to pray in a way that connected their needs to the abundance of the Great Spirit. Her gift ensured that the people would never be without guidance. The Cherokee remember the time when all animals could speak the same language as humans. The Great Council of Creatures decided how the world should be organized. Each species received its own gifts and responsibilities. Humans received the gift of choice, but also the burden of learning to choose wisely. The Hopi prophecies speak of the four worlds that have existed before this one. Each previous world was destroyed when beings forgot their sacred responsibilities to one another and to the earth itself. The fifth world, our current existence, continues only as long as people remember how to live in balance. These creation teachings are not primitive attempts to explain scientific processes. They are sophisticated instructions about how consciousness can maintain its connection to the sacred source from which all life emerges and to which all life eventually returns. The Great Spirit that native peoples speak of is not a distant God ruling from heaven, but the living essence that animates all existence. This divine presence moves through the cycles of the seasons. It breathes through the wind that carries the seeds of new plants to fertile ground. The sacred directions that organize native spiritual practice create a framework for understanding how divine energy moves through the world. East brings the gift of new beginnings with each sunrise. South offers the power of growth and abundance. West teaches the wisdom that comes through letting go. North provides the clarity that comes from rest and reflection. The medicine wheel that many tribes use as a teaching tool shows how all aspects of existence are connected in sacred relationships. The four directions, the four seasons, the four stages of life all reflect the same cosmic patterns that govern both individual development and universal harmony. The animal spirits that serve as guides and teachers in native tradition are not symbolic representations, but actual spiritual beings who offer their wisdom to humans willing to listen with respect and humility. Each creature embodies particular qualities that human consciousness needs to develop. Eagle soars highest and sees farthest, teaching about the importance of maintaining perspective on life's challenges. Bear knows how to find healing plants and when to retreat for inner renewal. Wolf demonstrates the power of working together while maintaining individual strength and dignity. Buffalo provided everything the Plains tribes needed for physical survival while teaching spiritual lessons about abundance that comes through sharing rather than hoarding. The great herds showed how individual welfare depends upon the health of the entire community. The plant spirits that native healers work with are understood to be conscious beings who choose to share their healing powers with humans who approach them with proper ceremony and genuine need. Each medicinal plant has its own personality and preferences for how it wants to be gathered and used. Sage clears away negative energies and creates sacred space for ceremony. Cedar provides protection and calls in beneficial spirits. Sweetgrass carries prayers to the spirit world and brings blessings back to earth. Tobacco serves as the sacred messenger that carries human intentions to divine attention. The ceremonies that structure native spiritual life follow ancient patterns that maintain harmony between human communities and the natural forces upon which all life depends. These rituals are not entertainment, but serious responsibilities that help maintain the cosmic balance. The sweat lodge represents the womb of Mother Earth, where participants can experience spiritual rebirth through purification by sacred steam. The darkness and heat strip away the illusions that prevent clear seeing. Emerging from the lodge becomes a symbol of being born again into clearer understanding. The Vision Quest takes young people into solitude where they can receive direct guidance from spirit helpers about their purpose in life. Days spent alone in sacred places with minimal food and water create the conditions where ordinary consciousness can open to receive otherworldly instruction. The Sun Dance demonstrates the willingness to sacrifice personal comfort for the welfare of the entire tribe and all relations. Dancers who endure days of fasting and dancing under the burning sun offer their prayers for healing, abundance, and protection for all life. The pipe ceremony creates direct communication between human consciousness and divine presence. The sacred pipe represents the unity of all creation. The bowl symbolizes the feminine receptive earth. The stem represents the masculine sky. Smoke carries prayers upward while blessings flow downward. The seasonal celebrations that mark the native spiritual calendar acknowledge the divine forces that govern the cycles of growth, harvest, death, and renewal. Each ceremony ensures that human activities remain synchronized with natural rhythms rather than working against them. The storytelling traditions that preserve native wisdom are not mere entertainment, but sacred teachings disguised as stories to make them memorable and enjoyable. Each tale contains multiple layers of meaning that reveal deeper truths to listeners who are ready to understand them. The drum that accompanies native ceremonies is not just a musical instrument, but the heartbeat of Mother Earth made audible. The rhythm connects participants to the pulse that governs all life. Dancing to the drums synchronizes human consciousness with cosmic rhythms. The sacred sites that dot the North American landscape are not just beautiful places, but power spots where the spiritual energy of the earth concentrates in ways that can facilitate direct contact with divine forces. These locations require respectful approach and appropriate ceremony. As we prepare to walk the sacred paths where Native American wisdom flows like ancient rivers through the landscape of the soul, as we prepare to meet the spirit beings who have guided indigenous peoples for countless generations, let yourself settle into the peaceful awareness of entering sacred time and space. The teachings we will receive are not museum pieces from a dead past, but living wisdom that continues to pulse through the heartbeat of this continent. The spirits we will encounter are not mythological figures, but actual beings who remain available to guide those who approach them with proper respect and genuine need. The sacred fire begins to glow brighter as our journey deepens. Somewhere in the vast expanse of prairie and forest, mountain and desert, the Great Spirit prepares to reveal the first of the great teachings through the voice of Grandmother Spider, the weaver who taught humans the art of creating connections between all forms of life. From the ancient canyons where shadows dance on red stone walls, Grandmother Spider approaches. She is the sacred weaver, the one who taught humans the art of creating connections between all forms of life. Grandmother Spider moves with the patient precision of one who understands that the most important work happens slowly, strand by strand, with careful attention to how each thread supports the whole web. Grandmother Spider appears as a being of ancient wisdom whose small size conceals immense power. Her 8 legs move with deliberate grace as she weaves the patterns that connect all existence into a single sacred web. Her eyes, arranged to see in all directions simultaneously, miss nothing that occurs within her vast domain of responsibility. The web that Grandmother Spider weaves is not made of ordinary silk, but consists of the invisible connections that link every creature to every other creature in the great circle of life. These sacred threads carry messages between different forms of consciousness. They transmit the prayers of humans to the ears of the Great Spirit. The creation story told by the Hopi people reveals how Grandmother Spider helped bring the current world into existence. When the previous world was destroyed by fire, she guided the people through underground passages to emerge in this fourth world. Grandmother Spider's web provided the map that showed them how to find their way to safety. The fire that Grandmother Spider brought to humans was not ordinary flame, but the sacred light of consciousness itself. She carried this divine fire in a small clay pot that she balanced carefully on her back as she climbed up through the darkness to reach the surface world where people waited in cold confusion. The pottery that Grandmother Spider taught humans to make was not just useful containers but sacred vessels that could hold spiritual as well as physical substances. The clay pots shaped by her instruction could store prayers, dreams, and visions along with water and grain. The weaving techniques that Grandmother Spider shared with human women created more than useful textiles. The patterns woven under her guidance contained protective magic that could shield families from harmful influences while attracting beneficial energies into homes and communities. The colors that Grandmother Spider showed humans how to extract from plants and minerals were not mere decoration but spiritual tools that could influence consciousness and connect weavers to different aspects of divine power. Each hue carried its own medicine and meaning. Red represented the life force that flows through all creatures. This color connected weavers to the strength and vitality they needed to accomplish difficult tasks while maintaining compassion for all beings who shared the struggle of earthly existence. Yellow captured the wisdom of the sun and the golden light of spiritual understanding. Weavers who worked with this color received guidance from solar consciousness and learned to see clearly through the illusions that cloud ordinary perception. Blue held the depth and mystery of sky and water, connecting human consciousness to the vast perspectives that come from understanding our place in the infinite expanse of creation. This color brought peace and the ability to flow around obstacles. Black contained the fertile darkness of the sacred void from which all creation emerges and to which it eventually returns. This color helped weavers understand death and transformation as natural parts of the cycle that governs all existence. White reflected the purity of spirit before it becomes clothed in the colors and patterns of particular forms. This color reminded weavers of their essential nature beyond all temporary identities and circumstances. The loom that Grandmother Spider taught humans to construct was more than a tool for making textiles. It became a sacred instrument that helped weavers understand how individual threads must work together to create patterns of beauty and strength that serve the whole community. The warping process that creates the foundation threads of any weaving became a meditation on how individual lives provide the structure upon which communities can build their shared cultural patterns. Each person's life story becomes one of the threads that supports the larger design. The shuttle that carries the weft threads back and forth across the warp represents the movement of time and experience that weaves individual moments into the larger patterns of destiny. The weaver learns patience by following the rhythm that creates strong and beautiful fabric. The patterns that emerge from sacred weaving reflect the cosmic designs that organize all existence. Geometric shapes repeat the mathematical relationships that govern everything from the spiral of galaxies to the structure of flower petals and shell formations. The spider clan that honors Grandmother Spider as their primary spiritual guide preserves the sacred weaving traditions that maintain the tribe's connection to her ongoing guidance. These weavers understand that their work serves ceremonial purposes as well as practical needs. The teaching stories about Grandmother Spider emphasize her role as the one who brings order out of chaos through patient, careful work that respects the natural properties of materials while guiding them toward their highest potential for beauty and service. The web of life that Grandmother Spider maintains requires constant attention and repair. When humans act in ways that damage the sacred connections between different forms of consciousness, she works tirelessly to restore the harmony that keeps all existence in proper balance. The medicine bundles that contain Grandmother Spider's power objects include small clay figures of spiders, strands of specially prepared thread, and tiny pots that hold sacred substances. These bundles help their keepers maintain conscious connection to her wisdom and protection. The ceremonies that honor Grandmother Spider often involve group weaving projects where many women work together to create large textiles that will serve the entire community. These collaborative efforts strengthen the social bonds that mirror the cosmic web she maintains. The songs that accompany sacred weaving carry melodies that synchronize the weaver's movements with cosmic rhythms. These ancient chants help maintain the meditative state of consciousness necessary for creating textiles that hold spiritual power as well as physical beauty. The dreams that come to those who work closely with Grandmother Spider often contain visions of the web patterns that connect all beings in networks of mutual responsibility and support. These dream teachings help people understand their proper place in the larger community of existence. The children who show special affinity for Grandmother Spider's teachings receive early training in the sacred arts of weaving, pottery making, and web reading. These young ones learn to perceive the invisible connections that most people overlook in their daily activities. The healing practices associated with Grandmother Spider utilize the understanding that illness often results from breaks in the web of relationships that should connect the patient to sources of spiritual nourishment and support. Healing involves repairing these damaged connections. The prophecies that come through Grandmother Spider's teaching focus on the importance of remembering that all beings are connected in a sacred web that can be damaged by careless actions but can also be strengthened through conscious cooperation and mutual respect. The environmental wisdom that Grandmother Spider represents teaches that humans cannot harm other species without ultimately damaging themselves, since all forms of life are connected in the web that supports the continued existence of the entire planetary ecosystem. The artistic traditions inspired by Grandmother Spider produce textiles, pottery, and other crafts that serve as more than beautiful objects. These items function as prayers made manifest, as tools for maintaining spiritual connection, and as teaching aids that preserve sacred knowledge. The meditation practices associated with Grandmother Spider involve visualization of the sacred web that connects all existence, allowing practitioners to experience directly their participation in the larger patterns that organize cosmic consciousness into countless individual expressions. The responsibility teachings that come through Grandmother Spider emphasize that every action sends vibrations through the web of existence that eventually return to their source. Understanding this connection helps people choose behaviors that strengthen rather than damage the sacred relationships. The patience that Grandmother Spider demonstrates through her careful, methodical work becomes a teaching about the importance of taking time to do things properly rather than rushing toward goals without adequate attention to the quality of the process involved. The creativity that flows through Grandmother Spider's guidance helps humans understand that they are co-creators with divine consciousness, responsible for weaving beauty and meaning into the world through their choices and actions in partnership with spiritual forces. As Grandmother Spider settles into her eternal work of maintaining the sacred web that connects all forms of consciousness in patterns of mutual support and responsibility, we can rest in the knowledge that divine wisdom watches over the connections that make existence possible. Under Grandmother Spider's protection, every act of creating beauty becomes a form of prayer that strengthens the web of sacred relationships. Every moment of patient work becomes participation in the cosmic weaving that maintains harmony between all beings. Every recognition of connection becomes wisdom that serves the welfare of all relations. The sacred threads shimmer in the firelight as Grandmother Spider returns to her eternal weaving. From the eastern horizon, where the morning star heralds the return of light, another presence approaches. This is White Buffalo Calf Woman, the holy teacher who brought the sacred pipe and showed humans how to pray in a way that connects earth and sky. Across the endless prairie where buffalo herds once moved like brown rivers flowing over green grass, White Buffalo Calf Woman approaches. She is the holy teacher who brought the sacred pipe to the Lakota people. White Buffalo Calf Woman moves with grace that seems to float above the earth while remaining deeply connected to it. Her presence brings the sacred knowledge of how to pray in a way that unites human needs with divine abundance. White Buffalo Calf Woman appears as a figure of transcendent beauty whose very being bridges the earthly and spiritual realms. Her white dress gleams with the purity of fresh snow and morning clouds. Her long black hair flows like midnight streams carrying starlight to the earth below. Her eyes hold depths that reflect the endless sky and the wisdom of one who speaks directly with the Great Spirit. The sacred bundle that White Buffalo Calf Woman carries contains the original pipe that serves as the pattern for all pipes used in ceremony by the Lakota and other Plains tribes. This holy object represents the unity of all creation through the marriage of earth and sky, feminine and masculine, human and divine. The pipe bowl carved from red stone represents the feminine earth that receives and nourishes all seeds of creation. The sacred red stone comes from quarries that belong to all tribes, places where traditional enemies lay down their weapons to gather this holy material in peace and mutual respect. The wooden stem that completes the pipe represents the masculine sky that provides the life force and creative energy that makes growth and transformation possible. When bowl and stem are joined during ceremony, they create a sacred unity that mirrors the cosmic marriage between earth and sky. The smoke that rises from the sacred pipe carries human prayers directly to the attention of the Great Spirit and all the helping spirits who assist in maintaining the balance and harmony of creation. This sacred smoke creates a visible bridge between the earthly realm and the world of spirits. The teachings that White Buffalo Calf Woman brought to the Lakota people included instructions for 7 sacred ceremonies that would help the tribe maintain their connection to divine guidance throughout all the challenges they would face in future generations. The Sweat Lodge ceremony that White Buffalo Calf Woman taught provides a way for people to purify themselves physically and spiritually while experiencing rebirth through symbolic return to the womb of Mother Earth. Participants emerge from the lodge renewed and ready to live with greater awareness of their sacred responsibilities. The Vision Quest ceremony guides young people into solitude where they can receive direct instruction from spirit helpers about their purpose in life and the gifts they are meant to share with their community. This sacred ordeal tests courage while opening consciousness to otherworldly guidance. The Sundance ceremony that White Buffalo Calf Woman established allows the entire community to participate in prayers for healing, abundance, and protection through the sacrifice and dedication of dancers who endured days of fasting and dancing under the burning sun for the welfare of all relations. The girls' puberty ceremony honors the sacred transition when young women come into their creative power and begin to participate consciously in the cosmic feminine force that creates and sustains all life. This celebration acknowledges the divine feminine principle manifesting through human consciousness. The making of relatives ceremony creates spiritual kinship bonds that extend the concept of family beyond blood relationships to include all beings who choose to support one another in living according to sacred principles. This ceremony builds the spiritual communities that can survive any physical challenges. The keeping of the soul ceremony helps grieving families maintain beneficial connections with deceased relatives during the transitional period when souls are adjusting to their new form of existence. This practice ensures that death becomes transformation rather than loss. The throwing of the ball ceremony teaches children about the sacred play that connects all beings in joyful relationships while demonstrating how individual success depends upon the welfare of the entire group. This game becomes a metaphor for how consciousness can maintain unity while expressing diversity. The prophecy that White Buffalo Calf Woman shared with the Lakota before her departure spoke of difficult times that would come when people forgot their sacred responsibilities to one another and to the earth. She promised that the pipe would always provide guidance for those who approached it with sincere hearts. The transformation of White Buffalo Calf Woman into a white buffalo calf as she departed demonstrated her connection to the Buffalo Nation that provided everything the Plains tribes needed for physical survival, while teaching spiritual lessons about abundance that comes through sharing rather than hoarding. The sacred white buffalo that occasionally appear in modern herds are understood by many native peoples as signs that White Buffalo Calf Woman's prophecies are being fulfilled and that the time has come for renewed attention to the sacred teachings she brought to help humans live in harmony with all relations. The pipe carriers who preserve the tradition of sacred smoking do so not as religious officials, but as servants of the community who maintain the connection between human prayers and divine response. These individuals accept responsibility for keeping the sacred fire of connection burning. The tobacco that feeds the sacred pipe is not the commercial product, but specially grown and prepared plants that are understood to be sacred messengers willing to carry human intentions to the spirit world. Each pinch of tobacco placed in the pipe represents a prayer or offering. The protocol that governs pipe ceremony includes specific ways of holding, filling, lighting, and smoking the pipe that demonstrate respect for the sacred power it contains, while ensuring that this power is directed toward beneficial purposes rather than selfish desires. The prayers offered through the sacred pipe address not just personal needs, but the welfare of all relations. Pipe carriers pray for the health of the earth, the well-being of all creatures, the guidance of leaders, and the protection of future generations not yet born. The healing ceremonies that utilize the sacred pipe understand that illness often results from spiritual causes that must be addressed along with physical symptoms. The pipe smoke carries healing energy that can restore balance to both body and spirit. The peace negotiations that historically included pipe smoking demonstrated the sacred nature of agreements made between different tribes or nations. Breaking treaties made over the sacred pipe was understood to bring spiritual consequences that affected entire communities across generations. The teaching stories about White Buffalo Calf Woman emphasize her role as the divine feminine teacher who brought the most important spiritual technology to help humans maintain their connection to sacred sources of guidance and support. The women's societies that preserve White Buffalo Calf Woman's teachings understand that the divine feminine wisdom she represents continues to be available to guide contemporary communities through the challenges of maintaining spiritual values in materialistic cultures. The bundles that contain objects associated with White Buffalo Calf Woman include pieces of white buffalo hide, sacred pipes, special stones, and other items that help their keepers maintain conscious connection to her ongoing presence and guidance. The songs that are sung during pipe ceremony carry melodies that were taught by White Buffalo Calf Woman herself. These ancient chants help create the sacred atmosphere necessary for effective prayer and maintain the connection to her original teachings. The seasonal ceremonies that honor White Buffalo Calf Woman acknowledge her role in bringing the spiritual practices that help human communities stay synchronized with natural cycles rather than working against the rhythms that govern all life. The environmental activism inspired by White Buffalo Calf Woman's teachings focuses on protecting the sacred sites and natural resources that are essential for maintaining the spiritual practices she taught while preserving the ecological balance that supports all life. The prophecies associated with White Buffalo Calf Woman speak of a time when people of all nations will need to come together to protect the earth and restore the sacred relationships that industrial civilization has damaged or destroyed. The youth programs that teach White Buffalo Calf Woman's wisdom help young people understand their responsibilities as caretakers of the earth and keepers of the sacred traditions that can guide humanity through the challenges of the modern world. The interfaith dialogue that draws upon White Buffalo Calf Woman's teachings demonstrates how Native American spiritual wisdom can contribute to the global conversation about how different religious traditions can work together to serve the welfare of all life. The healing practices inspired by White Buffalo Calf Woman utilize the understanding that physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health are interconnected aspects of the same wholeness that requires integrated approaches to restoration and maintenance. The artistic expressions that honor White Buffalo Calf Woman include paintings, sculptures, beadwork, and other crafts that serve as more than decoration. These items function as prayers made visible and teaching tools that preserve sacred knowledge. As White Buffalo Calf Woman settles into her eternal role as the divine teacher, whose sacred pipe provides the means for humans to maintain their connection to the Great Spirit and all the helping spirits who guide creation toward greater harmony and balance, we can rest in the knowledge that divine guidance remains available to those who approach it with sincere hearts. Under White Buffalo Calf Woman's protection, every prayer offered through the sacred pipe becomes a bridge between human need and divine abundance. Every ceremony conducted with proper respect becomes a renewal of the sacred relationship between earth and sky. Every moment of sincere spiritual seeking becomes an opportunity for receiving the guidance that can transform individual life and community welfare. The sacred smoke rises higher as White Buffalo Calf Woman returns to her place among the eternal teachers. From the four directions where the wind spirits dwell, another presence approaches. This is the collective consciousness of the four winds, the sacred breath that carries life force to all creation while connecting every being to the cosmic rhythms that govern existence. From the four sacred directions that define the boundaries of the world, the wind spirits approach. They are the sacred breath of creation, the invisible forces that carry life from the Great Spirit to all beings while connecting every creature to the cosmic rhythms that govern existence. The four winds move with the power of air itself, bringing different gifts from each direction to maintain the balance that allows all life to flourish. The four winds appear as beings of pure energy whose forms shift like moving air, sometimes visible as swirling currents that bend grass and lift leaves, other times felt only as gentle pressure against the skin or the stirring of hair that signals their presence. Their voices speak in languages older than words, communicating through the universal tongue that all creatures understand. The east wind arrives with the golden light of dawn, carrying the gift of new beginnings and the fresh energy that starts each day with infinite possibilities. This sacred wind brings the power of illumination that dispels the darkness of confusion and ignorance while kindling the inner fire of inspiration and hope. The spiritual qualities that flow from the east wind include the courage needed to face unknown challenges, the wisdom to recognize opportunities for growth, and the clarity of vision that allows consciousness to perceive the sacred dimension present within ordinary experiences. The animals that serve as messengers for the east wind include eagle, who soars highest and sees farthest, teaching about the importance of maintaining perspective on life's challenges while remaining connected to earthly responsibilities. Eagle's feathers carry the blessing of the east wind to those who earn the right to receive such sacred gifts. The colors associated with the east wind are the golden yellow of sunrise and the clear white of morning clouds that reflect the pure light of spiritual understanding. These hues represent the mental clarity and emotional balance that come from aligning individual consciousness with cosmic intelligence. The season that corresponds to the east wind is spring, when new life emerges from winter's rest and all of creation participates in the renewal that demonstrates the eternal principle of rebirth and transformation. Spring winds carry the pollen that fertilizes waiting flowers and the warmth that calls forth green shoots from dormant seeds. The south wind brings the full power of summer, carrying the energy of growth and abundance that allows all life forms to reach their maximum potential. This sacred wind teaches about the importance of nurturing whatever has been planted while maintaining the generous spirit that shares abundance with all relations. The gifts that come through the south wind include the strength needed to sustain long-term projects, the patience required for gradual development, and the understanding that true prosperity comes through cooperation rather than competition with other forms of consciousness. The animals associated with the south wind include mouse, who teaches attention to detail and the importance of gathering resources carefully, and coyote, who demonstrates the intelligence needed to survive and thrive through adaptability and creative problem-solving rather than brute force alone. The colors that represent the south wind are the red of life force and the green of growing plants that transform sunlight into the energy that sustains the entire web of existence. These colors remind observers of their connection to the vital forces that animate all creation. The plant medicines that work with the south wind include those that strengthen the physical body and enhance emotional resilience, helping individuals maintain their energy and optimism during the demanding period when dreams and visions must be transformed into practical accomplishments. The west wind arrives with the cooling shadows of evening, bringing the wisdom that comes through experience and the peaceful acceptance that allows consciousness to release whatever no longer serves its highest development. This sacred wind teaches about the beauty of endings that make space for new beginnings. The spiritual teachings associated with the west wind focus on the importance of reflection, gratitude, and the integration of lessons learned through the challenges and successes of active life. This wind brings the maturity that comes from understanding how individual actions affect the welfare of the entire community. The animals that serve the west wind include bear, who knows when to retreat for inner renewal and healing, and salmon, who demonstrates the courage required to swim against strong currents when following the path that leads back to the source of life and wisdom. The colors of the west wind are the deep blue of twilight skies and the black of fertile darkness that holds the seeds of future creation. These hues represent the depth and mystery of the unconscious wisdom that emerges when conscious activity settles into receptive stillness. The ceremonies that honor the west wind often involve practices of release and forgiveness, helping participants let go of grudges, regrets, and attachments that prevent them from moving forward into the next phase of their spiritual development with clear hearts and peaceful minds. The north wind brings the clarity and precision that come from the stillness of winter, when life force withdraws into the roots and seeds where it can gather strength for the next cycle of growth and manifestation. This sacred wind teaches about the importance of rest and contemplation. The wisdom gifts that flow through the north wind include the ability to see situations clearly without emotional distortion, the strength to endure difficult periods with grace and dignity, and the understanding of how apparent death and dormancy actually serve the purposes of renewed life. The animals associated with the north wind include buffalo, who provides everything needed for survival while teaching about abundance that comes through sharing, and white wolf, who demonstrates the loyalty and cooperative spirit that enable communities to survive harsh conditions. The colors that represent the north wind are the pure white of snow and the silver of moonlight, hues that reflect the clarity and purity that come from stripping away everything non-essential to reveal the fundamental truth that underlies all temporary appearances and circumstances. The plant allies that work with the north wind include those that help consciousness turn inward for meditation and spiritual development, supporting the contemplative practices that allow individuals to receive guidance from inner sources of wisdom and divine inspiration. The sacred wheel that connects the four winds shows how their different gifts work together to create the complete cycle of spiritual development that all consciousness must experience to achieve full integration of earthly and heavenly wisdom. Each wind prepares awareness for the gifts that the next wind will bring. The ceremonies that honor all four winds together often involve creating sacred space that acknowledges each direction and invites its particular blessings to support whatever work or healing or celebration is being undertaken by the gathered community. The prayers offered to the four winds recognize that the sacred breath of creation moves through all existence, connecting every being to the cosmic respiratory system that sustains life while carrying messages between different levels of consciousness and various forms of intelligence. The teaching stories about the four winds emphasize their role in maintaining the balance that prevents any single force from dominating creation to the detriment of other essential elements. The winds work together to create weather patterns that serve the welfare of all life forms. The seasonal ceremonies that honor each wind in its appropriate time help human communities stay synchronized with natural cycles, rather than trying to impose artificial rhythms that work against the cosmic patterns that govern optimal timing for different activities. The healing practices that work with the four winds utilize the understanding that different types of ailments require different types of energy for restoration. Each wind carries specific healing properties that address particular imbalances in body, mind, emotion, and spirit. The vision quest experiences that involve sitting in sacred places and calling upon the four winds for guidance create opportunities for receiving teaching from each direction about the spiritual lessons that the seeker most needs to learn at their current stage of development. The artistic traditions inspired by the four winds produce works that capture the essential qualities of each direction while demonstrating how their different energies can be woven together to create expressions of beauty that serve the entire community. The environmental wisdom taught by the four winds includes understanding of how weather patterns and seasonal changes serve essential functions in maintaining the ecological balance that supports all forms of life on the planet. The prophecies associated with the four winds speak of times when the natural balance will be severely disturbed, and human communities will need to remember how to work consciously with these elemental forces to restore harmony and prevent destructive climate chaos. The meditation practices that focus on the four winds involve breathing exercises that help practitioners align their personal life force with the cosmic breath that sustains all creation, while facilitating communication with the spiritual intelligences that guide natural processes. As the four winds settle into their eternal dance around the sacred wheel of existence, their combined breath ensuring that the life force continues to flow between the Great Spirit and all creation, we can rest in the knowledge that the sacred rhythm of cosmic respiration supports and sustains every moment of existence. Under the protection of the four winds, every breath becomes communion with the life force that animates all creation. Every recognition of the gifts that come from each direction becomes wisdom that helps consciousness maintain its balance through all the changes and challenges of earthly existence. Every moment of gratitude for the sacred breath becomes prayer that strengthens the connection between individual life and cosmic intelligence. The winds grow gentle as they return to their eternal circulation around the wheel of creation. From the depths of the earth where the ancient powers sleep and dream, another presence stirs. This is Grandmother Earth, the sacred mother whose body provides the foundation for all life, while her spirit nurtures the consciousness that grows like plants reaching toward the light. From the depths of canyon floors where ancient rivers carved their stories into stone, Grandmother Earth stirs. She is the sacred mother whose body provides the foundation for all life, while her spirit nurtures every consciousness that grows like plants reaching toward the light. Grandmother Earth moves with the patience of geological time and the generous love of one who gives freely without counting the cost. Grandmother Earth appears not as a separate being but as the living presence that inhabits every grain of soil, every mountain peak, every valley where streams gather the gift of rain. Her voice speaks through the rustle of leaves, the rumble of thunder, the gentle murmur of water flowing over stones worn smooth by countless seasons of patient teaching. The body of Grandmother Earth extends from the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain peaks, encompassing every landscape where life has learned to flourish. Her flesh is the rich soil that feeds the roots of growing plants. Her bones are the stone foundations that provide stability. Her blood is the water that carries nourishment to every living cell. The breath of Grandmother Earth flows through the wind that carries seeds to new growing places and spreads the pollen that creates the next generation of flowering plants. Her breathing creates the weather patterns that bring rain to thirsty lands and sunshine to plants ready to transform light into life. The hair of Grandmother Earth is the vast forests that cover her body like protective robes, providing oxygen for all breathing creatures while creating habitats where countless species can find their proper homes. Each tree stands as one of her children, rooted in her flesh while reaching toward Father Sky. The sacred sites that dot Grandmother Earth's body are places where her spiritual energy concentrates in ways that create natural power spots for ceremony and vision seeking. These locations require respectful approach and appropriate offerings to maintain their beneficial influence on human consciousness. The mountains that rise from Grandmother Earth's surface serve as her meditation places where she communes with Father Sky, and the star nations that guide the cosmic patterns governing all earthly existence. These peaks provide the elevated perspectives that help consciousness understand its place in the larger web of creation. The valleys between mountains create the protected spaces where Grandmother Earth nurtures the tender seeds of new growth, providing shelter from harsh winds while channeling the water and rich soil that help all life forms develop their full potential. The rivers that flow across Grandmother Earth's surface carry her blessings from the high places where snow and rain gather to the low places where plants and animals wait for the gift of water. These sacred waterways connect all regions in networks of shared nourishment and mutual support. The lakes that rest in natural basins provide Grandmother Earth with places for contemplation and reflection, still waters that mirror the sky, and create habitats for the swimming nations that help maintain the balance of aquatic ecosystems. The forests that cover much of Grandmother Earth's body create the complex communities where different species learn to live together in relationships of mutual benefit and support. These woodland nations demonstrate how diversity can create strength rather than conflict when all participants understand their proper roles. The grasslands that stretch across vast regions of Grandmother Earth's surface provide the foundation for the great herds of four-legged beings that once moved like living rivers across the prairie, demonstrating how abundance can be maintained through migration patterns that prevent overuse of any single area. The deserts that cover portions of Grandmother Earth teach about the beauty and wisdom that can emerge from apparent scarcity, showing how life can adapt to challenging conditions while maintaining essential connections to the sources of spiritual nourishment that transcend physical limitations. The seasonal changes that Grandmother Earth experiences demonstrate the cosmic breathing that alternates between periods of active growth and restful dormancy, teaching all her children about the importance of working in harmony with natural rhythms rather than forcing inappropriate timing. The spring awakening that stirs life throughout Grandmother Earth's body brings the renewal that follows winter's rest, showing how apparent death actually serves the purposes of more abundant life when consciousness learns to trust the wisdom of natural cycles. The summer abundance that flows through every aspect of Grandmother Earth's being demonstrates the generous creativity that emerges when all forces work together in harmonious cooperation, each contributing their unique gifts to the welfare of the whole community. The autumn harvest that gathers the fruits of summer's labor teaches about the importance of gratitude and careful stewardship, showing how abundance can be preserved through proper appreciation and intelligent distribution that ensures enough for all. The winter rest that slows the surface activity throughout Grandmother Earth's domain creates the conditions necessary for deep renewal and the gathering of energy that will support the next cycle of growth and creativity when spring returns. The plant nations that grow from Grandmother Earth's body serve as her intermediaries with the above-ground world, transforming sunlight into food while providing medicines that can heal the ailments that affect her human children when they forget their proper relationship to natural law. The four-legged nations that walk upon Grandmother Earth's surface teach through their behavior about different ways of living in harmony with natural forces, each species demonstrating particular wisdom that human consciousness needs to learn for complete spiritual development. The winged nations that fly above Grandmother Earth carry messages between her earthly consciousness and the sky beings that dwell in the upper realms, creating communication networks that maintain the connection between material and spiritual dimensions of existence. The swimming nations that live within Grandmother Earth's waters preserve the ancient memories of life's origins while teaching about the fluid adaptation that allows consciousness to flow around obstacles rather than breaking against them in futile resistance. The crawling nations that move close to Grandmother Earth's surface understand the intimate details of her moods and needs, providing information that helps other creatures know when conditions are favorable for particular activities or when patience is required. The ceremonies that honor Grandmother Earth acknowledge her role as the generous mother who provides everything needed for physical survival while teaching the spiritual lessons that help consciousness understand its sacred responsibilities to future generations not yet born. The offerings that are made to Grandmother Earth include tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and other sacred plants that carry human prayers of gratitude directly to her attention while demonstrating proper reciprocity for the gifts that she provides so freely and continuously. The earth lodges that some tribes construct for sacred ceremonies represent the womb of Grandmother Earth, where participants can experience symbolic rebirth through deeper understanding of their connection to the source of all life and wisdom. The Vision Quest sites that are chosen for their powerful connection to Grandmother Earth's spiritual energy provide the conditions necessary for receiving direct guidance about individual purpose and the ways each person can best contribute to the welfare of all relations. The healing practices that work with Grandmother Earth's medicine utilize clay, stones, plants, and other natural substances that carry her blessing and can restore balance to human consciousness that has become disconnected from its natural foundations. The agricultural wisdom that comes from understanding Grandmother Earth's preferences teaches about the importance of working with rather than against natural processes, using methods that enhance rather than exhaust the fertility that supports all life. The conservation practices inspired by reverence for Grandmother Earth focus on protecting the sacred sites and natural resources that are essential for maintaining the ecological balance that supports not just human communities but all the other nations that share this planetary home. The prophecies associated with Grandmother Earth speak of times when her human children will need to remember their responsibilities as caretakers and protectors, learning once again to live in ways that serve her welfare rather than exploiting her generosity without proper gratitude or reciprocity. The teaching stories about Grandmother Earth emphasize her infinite patience and forgiveness, while also warning about the natural consequences that follow when her gifts are taken without appropriate appreciation or when her sacred sites are damaged through ignorance or disrespect. The seasonal ceremonies that honor Grandmother Earth throughout the year help human communities maintain their awareness of their dependence upon her continued generosity while renewing their commitment to living in ways that support rather than burden her capacity to provide for all life. The artistic traditions that celebrate Grandmother Earth produce works that capture the beauty and wisdom of natural landscapes while serving as teaching tools that help people remember their proper relationship to the source of all material blessings. The meditation practices that focus on connection with Grandmother Earth involve sitting or lying directly on her surface while breathing consciously with her rhythms, allowing individual consciousness to merge temporarily with the vast awareness that encompasses all earthly existence. The environmental activism inspired by love for Grandmother Earth seeks to protect her sacred body from the damage caused by industrial practices that treat her as a resource to be exploited rather than a sacred mother deserving reverent care and protection. As Grandmother Earth settles into her eternal role as the patient mother whose body provides the foundation for all earthly existence, while her spirit teaches the wisdom of generous service and infinite forgiveness, we can rest in the knowledge that we are held always in her loving embrace. Under Grandmother Earth's protection, Every step taken upon her surface becomes an opportunity for communion with the source of life itself. Every seed planted in her soil becomes a prayer for abundance that serves all relations. Every moment of gratitude for her gifts becomes recognition of the sacred relationship that connects human consciousness to the cosmic mother who gives birth to all forms of life. The sacred ground grows quiet as Grandmother Earth returns to her eternal patience. From the star-filled darkness where the ancient knowledge keepers maintain their vigil, another presence approaches. This is Grandfather Fire, the sacred flame that connects earth to heaven while teaching the wisdom of transformation through the controlled burning that clears away what no longer serves. From the heart of the sacred lodge where eternal flames dance with ancient wisdom, Grandfather Fire emerges. He is the sacred transformer, the divine spark that connects earth to heaven while teaching the wisdom of controlled burning that clears away what no longer serves. Grandfather Fire moves with the crackling energy of one who understands that destruction and creation are partners in the cosmic dance of renewal. Grandfather Fire appears as a being of living flame whose form shifts between the gentle warmth of a cooking fire and the brilliant intensity of lightning that splits the darkness. His presence brings both comfort and power, the duality of fire that can warm a lodge or burn away an entire forest to make space for new growth. The sacred flame that Grandfather Fire tends has burned continuously since the beginning of creation, maintained by generations of firekeepers who understand that this eternal light represents the unbroken connection between human consciousness and the source of all spiritual illumination. The teaching that flows from Grandfather Fire emphasizes the importance of controlled transformation, showing how conscious burning can serve beneficial purposes while uncontrolled fire becomes destructive. His wisdom helps consciousness learn to direct the transformative energy safely and effectively. The ceremonies that honor Grandfather Fire begin with the lighting of sacred flames, using traditional methods that require patience, skill, and proper intention. The fire bow, flint and steel, or other ancient techniques create sparks that must be carefully nurtured into steady flame through proper attention and appropriate fuel. The tinder that feeds the first small flames represents the receptive consciousness that can receive the spark of divine inspiration and nurture it into the steady fire of spiritual commitment that provides warmth and light for the entire community. The kindling that builds upon the initial spark demonstrates how small actions and modest efforts can accumulate into significant transformation when they are guided by clear intention and sustained through patient dedication to worthy goals. The larger fuel that maintains the fire for extended periods teaches about the importance of substantial commitment and ongoing effort required to sustain any meaningful spiritual practice or community endeavor over time. The firekeeper who tends the sacred flame accepts responsibility for maintaining the connection between human consciousness and divine presence, ensuring that the light never dies completely even during the darkest and most challenging times. The smoke that rises from Grandfather Fire carries human prayers directly to the attention of the Great Spirit and all the helping spirits who assist in maintaining the harmony and balance of creation. This sacred smoke creates a visible bridge between earthly concerns and heavenly wisdom. The heat that radiates from Grandfather Fire provides the warmth that sustains life during cold seasons, while creating the conditions necessary for cooking food, crafting tools, and performing the various activities that support community welfare and spiritual development. The light that shines from Grandfather Fire illuminates the darkness and reveals what was hidden, helping consciousness see clearly through illusions and deceptions that might otherwise lead to confusion and poor decisions. The purification that occurs through contact with Grandfather Fire's energy burns away the spiritual impurities that accumulate when consciousness becomes entangled in negative thoughts, harmful emotions, and destructive behavioral patterns. The sweat lodge ceremony that utilizes Grandfather Fire's power through heated stones creates the conditions for profound spiritual cleansing and renewal through the purifying steam that represents the womb of Mother Earth, where rebirth becomes possible. The pipe ceremony that employs grandfather fire to create the sacred smoke demonstrates how divine energy can transform ordinary substances into vehicles for carrying human intentions to the realm of spirits who can provide guidance and assistance. The smudging practices that use grandfather fire to burn sage, cedar, sweetgrass, and other sacred plants create protective atmospheres that clear away negative influences while attracting beneficial energies that support healing and spiritual growth. The Vision Quest experiences that involve maintaining a sacred fire throughout nights of solitude provide the spiritual anchor that helps seekers maintain their connection to beneficial forces while opening consciousness to receive guidance from otherworldly teachers. The seasonal fires that mark important transitions in the natural cycle help human communities stay synchronized with cosmic rhythms while participating consciously in the processes of renewal that govern all existence. The cooking fires that transform raw food into nourishing meals demonstrate grandfather fire's role in the daily alchemy that converts the gifts of earth and water into the energy that sustains physical life while creating opportunities for community gathering and sharing. The craft fires that enable metalworking, pottery making, and other forms of creation show how grandfather fire's transformative power can be harnessed to serve artistic and practical purposes that enhance the quality of life for entire communities. The signal fires that carry messages across vast distances create communication networks that connect scattered communities while demonstrating how grandfather fire's light can overcome the isolation imposed by geographic barriers. The council fires around which important decisions are made provide the sacred atmosphere necessary for wisdom to emerge from group deliberation, ensuring that choices serve the welfare of future generations rather than immediate convenience. The healing fires that warm medicinal preparations and create the proper conditions for therapeutic treatments demonstrate how grandfather fire's energy can be directed specifically toward restoration of health and balance in individuals and communities. The teaching stories about grandfather fire emphasize his role as the divine gift that makes civilization possible, while also warning about the responsibility that comes with the power to create or destroy through the use of transformative energy. The fire spirits that inhabit sacred flames serve as messengers and intermediaries between human consciousness and the divine intelligences that guide the processes of purification and renewal necessary for spiritual development. The thunder beings that bring grandfather fire from the sky realm through lightning strikes demonstrate the connection between earthly fires and celestial energies, showing how divine power manifests through natural phenomena. The volcanic fires that emerge from deep within Grandmother Earth reveal the tremendous transformative forces that operate beneath the surface of apparent stability, reminding consciousness of the powerful changes that can occur when conditions are appropriate. The meteor fires that streak across the night sky carry messages from the star nations, bringing cosmic fire to Earth while demonstrating the connection between local fires and the universal energy that animates all creation. The aurora fires that dance in polar skies show how grandfather fire can manifest as pure light without consuming material fuel, revealing the spiritual dimension of fire that transcends physical burning. The fire ceremonies of different tribes demonstrate various approaches to working with grandfather fire's energy while maintaining the essential understanding that fire serves sacred purposes beyond mere practical utility. The fire songs that accompany sacred burning carry melodies that resonate with the frequencies of flame itself, helping participants align their consciousness with the transformative energy that grandfather fire provides. The fire dances that honor grandfather fire through movement inspired by flickering flames help dancers embody the energy of transformation while demonstrating respect for the power that can both create and destroy. The fire tools that are blessed for ceremonial use include specially prepared tongs, pokers, and containers that help firekeepers work safely with sacred flames while maintaining the reverent attitude appropriate for handling divine energy. The fire safety wisdom that comes from understanding Grandfather Fire's nature includes knowledge of how to prevent destructive burning while encouraging beneficial fires that clear dead undergrowth and promote healthy forest regeneration. The environmental teachings associated with Grandfather Fire include understanding of how natural fire cycles maintain ecological balance and how human intervention in these processes can either support or disrupt the health of entire ecosystems. The prophecies connected to Grandfather Fire speak of times when the sacred flames will need to be rekindled in the hearts of people who have forgotten their responsibilities to maintain the connection between human communities and divine guidance. The personal firekeeping practices that individuals can maintain include daily attention to inner spiritual fire through prayer, meditation, and other practices that keep the connection to sacred energy alive and active. The community fire-keeping responsibilities involve ensuring that sacred flames continue to burn in appropriate ceremonial contexts while teaching younger generations the knowledge and skills necessary to maintain these traditions. The artistic expressions inspired by Grandfather Fire include paintings, sculptures, beadwork, and other crafts that capture the energy and beauty of sacred flames while serving as teaching tools that preserve fire wisdom for future generations. As Grandfather Fire settles into his eternal role as the sacred transformer whose energy makes renewal possible while teaching the wisdom of controlled change, we can rest in the knowledge that divine purification remains available to consciousness willing to surrender what no longer serves. Under Grandfather Fire's protection, every sacred flame becomes a doorway to transformation and renewal. Every prayer offered through sacred smoke becomes a bridge to divine guidance. Every moment of reverent attention to the sacred fire becomes an opportunity for purification and spiritual growth. The flames dance higher as Grandfather Fire returns to his eternal burning. From the flowing waters where life first stirred and wisdom flows like eternal currents, another presence approaches. This is Grandfather Water, the sacred flow that carries life from its source while teaching the wisdom of adaptation and the power of persistence. From the sacred springs that bubble up from the heart of the earth and the mighty rivers that carry life across vast continents, Grandfather Water emerges. He is the sacred flow that carries life from its source while teaching the wisdom of adaptation and the power of gentle persistence. Grandfather Water moves with the fluid grace of one who knows that the softest force can overcome the hardest obstacles through patience and unwavering purpose. Grandfather Water appears as a being of flowing energy whose form shifts like moving streams, sometimes visible as cascading waterfalls that catch the light, other times felt only as the cool touch of morning dew or the refreshing spray from rapids dancing over ancient stones. His presence brings both nourishment and cleansing, the dual blessing of water that sustains life while washing away impurities. The sacred springs where Grandfather Water first emerges from the depths of Grandmother Earth represent the eternal source of life force that bubbles up from mysterious underground realms where divine energy accumulates before flowing into the visible world. The teaching that flows from these sacred springs emphasizes the importance of returning regularly to the source of spiritual nourishment, reminding consciousness that even the mightiest rivers begin as small springs that must be protected and honored. The streams that carry Grandfather Water from mountain heights to ocean depths demonstrate the principle of natural flow that follows the path of least resistance while maintaining steady progress toward the ultimate destination where all waters unite in sacred communion. The rivers that serve as Grandfather Water's highways create the transportation networks that connect different regions while providing the life-giving moisture that enables plants and animals to flourish throughout vast watersheds. The lakes that form when Grandfather Water pauses in natural basins provide the still reflection spaces where consciousness can contemplate its own depths while receiving the peaceful energy that comes from moments of rest and receptive stillness. The oceans that receive all flowing waters represent the ultimate unity toward which all individual streams of consciousness eventually flow, merging their separate identities into the vast collective awareness that encompasses all possible forms of existence. The rain that brings grandfather water from sky to earth demonstrates the eternal circulation that ensures continuous renewal, showing how divine blessing returns constantly to nourish whatever has grown from previous gifts of sacred moisture. The snow that stores grandfather water in crystalline form during cold seasons teaches about the patience required for proper timing, holding life force in reserve until conditions become favorable for renewed growth and activity. The ice that forms when grandfather water rests in frozen stillness shows how apparent immobility can serve essential purposes, creating the solid foundations and protective coverings that help life survive through challenging periods. The mist that carries grandfather water in its most ethereal form creates the veils between worlds that allow consciousness to glimpse otherworldly realms while maintaining its connection to earthly existence through the gentle touch of sacred moisture. The ceremonies that honor grandfather water include the pouring of sacred liquid offerings that demonstrate gratitude for the gift of life while requesting continued blessing for all beings who depend upon water for their survival and spiritual development. The water blessing rituals that use sacred springs, rivers, or specially prepared water create the conditions for spiritual purification and healing by removing the energetic impurities that accumulate when consciousness becomes entangled in negative influences. The baptism ceremonies that involve immersion in sacred waters represent the symbolic death and rebirth that allows consciousness to release old patterns and limitations while emerging, renewed and ready for the next phase of spiritual development. The water fasting practices that some vision seekers undertake create the conditions for profound spiritual opening by temporarily reducing the body's water content while intensifying the appreciation for this most essential element of physical existence. The sacred water collections that medicine people maintain include samples from holy springs, rainwater gathered during significant storms, and other specially blessed liquids that carry the concentrated healing power of grandfather water's spiritual energy. The water ceremonies that mark seasonal transitions help communities stay synchronized with the natural cycles of precipitation, snowmelt, and evaporation that govern the availability of fresh water throughout the year. The river crossing rituals that acknowledge the spiritual significance of moving from one watershed to another recognize that different bodies of water carry different energetic qualities and require appropriate protocols for respectful interaction. The waterfall meditations that utilize the power of falling water create opportunities for consciousness to experience the transformative energy that comes from allowing the mind to be cleansed by the constant flow of divine grace. The hot springs ceremonies that combine the healing powers of grandfather water with the purifying energy of grandfather fire create especially powerful conditions for therapeutic treatment of both physical ailments and spiritual imbalances. The ice ceremonies performed in northern regions honor grandfather water's ability to provide solid foundations and protective barriers while teaching patience and endurance during periods when life force must be conserved rather than actively expressed. The morning dew gatherings that collect the moisture that forms overnight demonstrate reverence for even the smallest manifestations of grandfather water's blessing, while utilizing the special properties of water that condenses under specific atmospheric conditions. The storm prayers that acknowledge grandfather water's arrival through rain, sleet, and snow express gratitude for the dramatic weather events that replenish watersheds, while sometimes causing challenging conditions that test community resilience. The drought ceremonies that call upon grandfather water during periods of scarcity recognize the essential relationship between human communities and the water cycles that determine whether crops will grow and animals will find sufficient moisture to survive. The flood recovery rituals that help communities restore balance after overwhelming water events acknowledge both the destructive and creative aspects of grandfather water's power while seeking to re-establish harmonious relationships with aquatic forces. The fishing ceremonies that honor grandfather water's role in supporting the swimming nations include proper protocols for taking only what is needed while maintaining respectful relationships with the fish spirits who share their water homes with human communities. The canoe blessings that prepare watercraft for safe travel create spiritual protection for those who journey upon Grandfather Water's surface, while acknowledging the responsibility that comes with using water highways for transportation and commerce. The water conservation practices that demonstrate reverence for Grandfather Water include efficient use of this precious resource while protecting watersheds from contamination that would damage the ability of water to support life and spiritual purification. The rain dances that call upon Grandfather Water during times of need create community rituals that align human intention with natural processes while demonstrating faith in the benevolent response of water spirits to sincere prayer and appropriate ceremony. The water songs that accompany sacred water ceremonies carry melodies that resonate with the flowing rhythms of streams and rivers, helping participants align their consciousness with the liquid energy that Grandfather Water represents. The water plants that grow in aquatic environments serve as Grandfather Water's special medicine helpers, providing therapeutic substances that work especially well for healing ailments related to fluid balance and emotional flow within the human system. The water animals that live within Grandfather Water's realm serve as his messengers and teachers, each species demonstrating different aspects of the wisdom that comes from living in complete harmony with fluid environments. The beaver nation that works with Grandfather Water to create ponds and wetlands demonstrates the principle of conscious cooperation with natural forces to create habitat improvements that benefit entire ecosystems rather than just individual species. The salmon nation that travels vast distances through Grandfather Water's highways teaches about the courage and determination required to return to the source of life while sharing abundance with all the communities encountered along the journey. The whale nation that maintains the health of ocean waters through their great migrations shows how large-scale movements can serve essential ecological functions while demonstrating the deep intelligence that operates through aquatic consciousness. The frog nation that lives both in water and on land serves as Grandfather Water's ambassadors to terrestrial consciousness, bridging the gap between aquatic and earthbound awareness while calling forth the rains through their evening songs. The turtle nation that carries the earth upon its back, according to many creation stories, represents the stable foundation that allows Grandfather Water to flow across the surface of existence while maintaining the solid base necessary for all terrestrial life. The healing properties that Grandfather Water carries include the ability to dissolve and wash away toxins, the power to carry medicinal substances throughout the body's systems, and the capacity to restore balance to consciousness that has become too rigid or fixed in limiting patterns. The emotional healing that Grandfather Water provides includes the gentle dissolution of grief and anger that have crystallized into harmful patterns, allowing the natural flow of feeling to resume its healthy movement through consciousness. The spiritual purification that Grandfather Water offers clears away the accumulation of negative energy that can block the flow of divine grace through human awareness, restoring the clear channels necessary for receiving otherworldly guidance and blessing. As Grandfather Water settles into his eternal role as the sacred flow that connects all life while teaching the wisdom of adaptation and gentle persistence, we can rest in the knowledge that divine grace flows continuously through existence like an inexhaustible river of blessing. Under Grandfather Water's protection, every drop of sacred liquid becomes a carrier of life force and healing energy. Every moment of gratitude for water becomes recognition of the flowing grace that sustains all existence. Every act of protecting water sources becomes service to the divine flow that nourishes both physical and spiritual life. The sacred waters grow still as Grandfather Water returns to his eternal circulation. From the vast herds that once moved like brown rivers across endless grasslands, another presence approaches. This is the spirit of Brother Buffalo, the sacred provider who teaches the wisdom of abundance that comes through sharing and the strength that emerges from community cooperation. Across the endless grasslands where the wind creates waves in an ocean of green and gold, Brother Buffalo approaches. He moves with the steady power of one who carries the weight of abundance for an entire people. Brother Buffalo walks with the dignity of a being who understands that true strength serves the welfare of the community rather than individual dominance. His presence brings the teaching that prosperity comes through sharing rather than hoarding. Brother Buffalo appears as a magnificent creature whose massive form embodies the principle of generous provision. His shaggy coat protects him from the harshest weather, while his powerful shoulders carry the responsibility for providing everything that Plains tribes need for survival. His eyes hold depths of ancient wisdom that remember when countless thousands of his people moved like brown rivers across continent-wide grasslands. The great herds that once followed Brother Buffalo's leadership demonstrated the power of community cooperation on a scale that exceeded anything else in the natural world. Millions of buffalo moved together across vast distances, following seasonal patterns that ensured adequate grazing while preventing overuse of any single area. The migration routes that Brother Buffalo established connected different regions of the Great Plains in networks of shared abundance. These ancient pathways ensured that the benefits of good grazing were distributed across the entire ecosystem rather than concentrated in single locations. The wallows where Brother Buffalo rolled in dust and mud created water collection points and mineral licks that served countless other species. These seemingly simple activities provided essential resources that supported the health and diversity of entire prairie communities. The grazing patterns that Brother Buffalo taught maintained the health of grassland ecosystems by preventing any plants from becoming so dominant that they excluded other species from their proper ecological niches. The buffalo's movement created space for diverse plant communities to flourish. The seasonal timing that governed Brother Buffalo's movements followed cosmic rhythms that connected earthly activities to celestial patterns. The herds moved north in spring and south in fall, aligning their migrations with solar cycles and star positions that guided navigation across featureless prairies. The protection that Brother Buffalo provided for weaker members of the herd demonstrated the principle that community strength depends upon caring for those who cannot fully care for themselves. The powerful bulls surrounded cows and calves during dangerous crossings and predator attacks. The teaching stories about Brother Buffalo emphasize his role as the generous provider who gave everything for the welfare of human communities while asking only for proper respect and gratitude in return for his ultimate sacrifice. The sacred relationship between Brother Buffalo and the Plains tribes created one of the most complete examples of sustainable abundance in human history. Every part of the buffalo served human needs while the hunting practices ensured the continued health of the great herds. The meat that Brother Buffalo provided sustained entire communities throughout harsh winters when other food sources became scarce. The buffalo's flesh contained all the nutrients necessary for optimal health in people whose active lifestyle required high-energy nutrition. The hides that Brother Buffalo offered created the essential materials for making tippies, clothing, blankets, and countless other items necessary for survival on the open plains. These leather goods provided protection from weather while allowing the mobility that grassland life required. The bones that Brother Buffalo contributed became tools, weapons, and implements that enabled plains peoples to live successfully in environments where trees and stone were scarce. Every bone served specific purposes that human ingenuity transformed into essential technologies. The sinews that Brother Buffalo shared provided the strong threads and cords necessary for sewing clothing, stringing bows, and creating all the bindings that held plains material culture together. These organic fibers offered strength and flexibility that synthetic materials cannot match. The horns that Brother Buffalo gave became cups, spoons, and containers that served both practical and ceremonial purposes. These horn implements carried the blessing of the sacred animal whose sacrifice made their creation possible. The organs that Brother Buffalo provided included special foods that supplied essential nutrients while also serving medicinal purposes that helped maintain the health of people whose diet consisted primarily of buffalo meat throughout much of the year. The blood that Brother Buffalo shed became sacred paint for ceremonies and war preparations, carrying the life force of the great provider into ritual contexts where spiritual power was most needed for protection and blessing. The fat that Brother Buffalo offered created the pemmican that sustained hunters and travelers during long journeys when fresh meat was not available. This concentrated food source provided energy and nutrients in forms that remained stable for extended periods. The hair that Brother Buffalo contributed became stuffing for pillows and padding, rope for various purposes, and even decorative elements that added beauty to functional objects. Nothing from the sacred animal was ever wasted or treated carelessly. The hunting ceremonies that preceded buffalo hunts included prayers and offerings that acknowledged Brother Buffalo's willing sacrifice while requesting successful hunts that would provide for community needs without unnecessary waste or suffering. The hunting methods that Plains tribes developed demonstrated respect for Brother Buffalo's intelligence and power while utilizing human cooperation to achieve results that individual hunters could never accomplish alone through purely personal effort. The buffalo drives that channeled herds toward jump sites or pounds required precise coordination and timing that demonstrated human ability to work together in harmony with natural animal behavior patterns rather than opposing them through force. The distribution systems that ensured equitable sharing of buffalo meat and materials throughout the entire community reflected Brother Buffalo's teaching that abundance exists to be shared rather than accumulated by individuals or families. The preservation techniques that allowed buffalo products to be stored for future use during lean periods showed how Brother Buffalo's abundance could extend through time to provide security during seasons when hunting was less successful or weather prevented travel. The Thanksgiving ceremonies that followed successful hunts honored Brother Buffalo's spirit while expressing gratitude for his continued willingness to provide for human needs despite the ultimate sacrifice that such provision required from him and his people. The sacred pipe ceremonies that used buffalo materials connected human prayers to Brother Buffalo's spiritual essence, ensuring that his sacrifice became part of the ongoing sacred relationship between human communities and the animal nations. The Vision Quest experiences that involved contact with Brother Buffalo's spirit provided guidance about community leadership, resource sharing, and the responsibilities that come with abundance and strength sufficient to help others. The Sundance ceremonies that honored Brother Buffalo acknowledged his role as the provider whose sacrifice made community survival possible while demonstrating human willingness to sacrifice personal comfort for collective welfare. The shield paintings that depicted Brother Buffalo carried his protective power into battle and dangerous situations, reminding warriors that true courage serves the defense of community rather than personal glory or revenge. The Buffalo societies that preserved Brother Buffalo's teachings included men and women who accepted special responsibilities for maintaining the spiritual relationship with the great herds while ensuring that hunting practices remained sustainable. The prophecies associated with Brother Buffalo spoke of times when the great herds would disappear and return, connecting the fate of the Buffalo Nation to the spiritual health of human communities and their remembrance of sacred responsibilities. The songs that honored Brother Buffalo carried melodies that imitated the sounds of the great herds moving across grasslands, helping singers maintain their connection to the rhythm and power of countless buffalo moving in unity. The dances that celebrated Brother Buffalo involved movements that mimicked his characteristic behaviors while allowing dancers to embody the strength and generous spirit that he represented for all Plains peoples. The regalia that incorporated buffalo materials served ceremonial purposes that went beyond mere decoration to create spiritual connections between human consciousness and the divine energy that Brother Buffalo embodied through his willing sacrifice. The children's games that taught about Brother Buffalo helped young people learn the skills and attitudes necessary for successful hunting while developing the respect and gratitude essential for maintaining proper spiritual relationships with animal nations. The healing ceremonies that utilized buffalo medicines recognized the therapeutic properties contained in different parts of the sacred animal, while honoring his continued willingness to provide healing as well as nourishment for human communities. The seasonal ceremonies that marked the times for following Brother Buffalo acknowledged his role in creating the calendar that governed Plains tribal activities throughout the year, from winter camps to summer gatherings. The conservation wisdom that came from understanding Brother Buffalo's needs taught about the importance of protecting grassland ecosystems and maintaining the natural processes that supported the great herds and all other prairie species. The modern buffalo restoration efforts that seek to rebuild the great herds demonstrate contemporary recognition of Brother Buffalo's essential role in maintaining healthy grassland ecosystems while honoring the spiritual relationship that Plains tribes have maintained despite historical disruptions. As Brother Buffalo settles into his eternal role as the sacred provider whose abundance teaches the wisdom of generous sharing and community cooperation, we can rest in the knowledge that divine provision remains available to communities that remember their responsibilities to share rather than hoard. Under Brother Buffalo's protection, every act of generous sharing becomes participation in the sacred abundance that flows through all creation. Every recognition of interdependence becomes wisdom that strengthens community bonds. Every moment of gratitude for provision becomes prayer that maintains the sacred relationship between human needs and natural abundance. The great herd moves slowly toward the horizon as Brother Buffalo returns to his eternal provision. From high peaks where the ancient watchers maintain their vigil, another presence approaches. This is Eagle, the sacred messenger who flies between earth and sky while teaching the wisdom of perspective and the courage to soar above limitations. From the highest peaks where the air grows thin and the spirit world touches the earthly realm, Eagle soars. He is the sacred messenger who flies between earth and sky while teaching the wisdom of perspective and the courage to soar above limitations. Eagle moves with the effortless grace of one who has mastered the art of riding the invisible currents that connect all levels of existence. Eagle appears as a magnificent being whose wings span the space between different worlds, his powerful form cutting through air with precision that demonstrates complete mastery of flight. His keen eyes see distances that humble earthbound vision, while his sharp talons grip the winds that carry messages between human prayers and divine attention. The flight of Eagle creates the sacred pathways that connect the earthly realm to the sky world, where the Great Spirit and the star nations dwell in eternal council. His wings generate the currents of spiritual energy that allow prayers to rise and blessings to descend. The height at which Eagle soars provides the elevated perspective necessary for seeing the larger patterns that organize existence beyond the limited viewpoint available to those who remain close to the ground. From his position among the clouds, Eagle can perceive how individual events fit into cosmic designs. The vision that Eagle possesses surpasses all other creatures in its clarity and range, enabling him to spot the smallest movement from distances that would render such details invisible to ordinary sight. This supernatural vision represents the spiritual discernment that can penetrate illusions to perceive truth. The strength that Eagle demonstrates through his ability to carry heavy prey while maintaining controlled flight teaches about the power that comes from proper alignment with natural forces rather than opposition to the currents that govern movement through any medium. The nest that Eagle builds on high cliff faces or in the tops of the tallest trees provides a secure foundation that remains above the reach of earthbound predators while offering commanding views of the entire territory that must be protected and provided for. The eggs that Eagle tends with devoted care represent the future generations that depend upon the wisdom and protection of those who have achieved the elevated consciousness necessary for seeing beyond immediate circumstances to long-term consequences. The hunting skills that Eagle displays demonstrate the focused attention and precise timing required for successful action in any endeavor that demands coordination between patient observation and swift, decisive movement when opportunity presents itself. The The territorial behavior that eagle exhibits shows the importance of maintaining clear boundaries while defending the sacred space necessary for spiritual development against influences that would disrupt the conditions needed for growth and renewal. The molting process that eagle undergoes periodically teaches about the necessity of releasing old feathers that no longer serve while growing new plumage that will carry the bird through the next phase of its development and service. The sacred feathers that eagle sheds become the most precious spiritual tools available to human communities, carrying the blessing and power of the great messenger while providing connection to the sky world and its divine inhabitants. The eagle feather ceremonies that honor these sacred gifts follow strict protocols that ensure proper respect for eagle sacrifice while utilizing the spiritual power contained within these precious objects for healing and blessing rather than decoration or display. The smudging fans made from eagle's feathers direct the sacred smoke from burning sage, cedar, and sweetgrass with precision that helps focus the purifying energy while spreading the blessing throughout the entire area being cleansed. The prayer staffs topped with eagle feathers carry human petitions directly to the attention of the Great Spirit, the sacred plumes serving as antennas that broadcast spiritual communications beyond the range of ordinary human voice or consciousness. The wall bonnets that incorporate eagle feathers represent the spiritual authority earned through acts of courage and service that demonstrate readiness to defend the community while maintaining proper relationship with the divine powers that protect and guide tribal welfare. The healing ceremonies that employ eagle feathers utilize the spiritual energy contained within these sacred objects to remove negative influences and restore balance to individuals whose health has been disrupted by physical, emotional, or spiritual causes. The vision quest experiences that involve contact with eagle's spirit provide guidance about spiritual development and the responsibilities that come with elevated consciousness capable of seeing beyond ordinary human limitations. The eagle bone whistles used in ceremonies produce sounds that replicate eagle's cry while calling upon his spiritual presence to assist in sacred activities that require connection between earthly and heavenly realms. The eagle societies that preserve the sacred teachings associated with this great messenger include individuals who have earned the right to work with eagle's power through demonstrated courage, wisdom, and commitment to community service. The hunting regulations that govern the taking of eagles ensure that these sacred birds are approached only with proper ceremony and spiritual preparation, while limiting such activities to genuine ceremonial needs rather than casual or commercial purposes. The eagle watching practices that many tribes maintain involve observing the flight patterns and behaviors of these sacred birds as sources of guidance about weather changes, seasonal transitions, and spiritual messages relevant to community welfare. The migration routes that eagles follow create aerial pathways that connect different regions while demonstrating the importance of movement and change in maintaining the dynamic balance necessary for health and continued growth. The soaring techniques that eagle employs show how consciousness can rise above earthly concerns without losing connection to the ground that provides the thermal currents necessary for effortless flight through higher dimensions of awareness. The diving attacks that eagle uses to capture prey demonstrate the focused power that becomes available when elevated perspective is combined with decisive action, guided by clear understanding of timing and opportunity. The mating flights that eagles perform during breeding season create aerial dances that celebrate the sacred union necessary for creating new life, while demonstrating the joy that comes from partnership based on mutual respect and shared purposes. The teaching calls that adult eagles use to train their young provide lessons in flight techniques, hunting skills, and territorial awareness that prepare the next generation for successful independent existence while maintaining family bonds. The seasonal movements that eagles make in response to changing weather and food availability teach about the wisdom of adaptation and the importance of remaining flexible while maintaining commitment to essential purposes and relationships. The roosting sites that eagles choose for nighttime rest demonstrate the importance of finding secure positions that provide protection during vulnerable periods while maintaining readiness to respond quickly to emerging opportunities or threats. The preening behaviors that eagles engage in regularly show the importance of maintaining the tools and abilities necessary for effective service while paying attention to details that support optimal function and appearance. The longevity that eagles achieve through careful living and strong genetic inheritance demonstrates the benefits that come from maintaining proper relationship with natural law while avoiding unnecessary risks and destructive behaviors. The symbolic associations that connect eagle to thunder, lightning, and storm powers recognize his role as messenger of the sky beings who control weather patterns and the celestial forces that influence earthly conditions. The sun dance ceremonies that honor eagle acknowledge his connection to solar energy and his role in carrying the prayers of dancers toward the source of light and life that sustains all creation. The funeral ceremonies that include eagle feathers help guide the spirits of the deceased toward the sky world, while providing comfort to grieving families through connection to the great messenger who travels freely between different realms of existence. The naming ceremonies that bestow eagle-related names upon individuals recognize spiritual qualities or life experiences that demonstrate connection to eagle's power while honoring his role in providing spiritual guidance and protection. The artistic representations of eagle in beadwork, quillwork, painting, and sculpture serve purposes beyond decoration to create spiritual connections while preserving and transmitting the sacred teachings associated with this great messenger. The conservation efforts that protect eagle populations and habitat demonstrate contemporary recognition of the essential role that these sacred birds play in maintaining both ecological balance and the spiritual relationships that connect human communities to divine guidance. The legal protections that many governments provide for eagles reflect broader understanding of their cultural and spiritual importance, while creating frameworks for ensuring their continued survival and availability for appropriate ceremonial purposes. As eagle settles into his eternal role as the sacred messenger whose flight connects earth to sky while teaching the wisdom of perspective and the courage to soar above limitations, we can rest in the knowledge that divine communication flows continuously between all levels of existence. Under eagle's protection, every prayer offered with sincere heart finds its way to divine attention. Every moment of elevated consciousness becomes an opportunity for receiving guidance from sources that transcend ordinary limitations. Every act of courage performed in service of community welfare becomes worthy of the sacred messenger's blessing. The great wings spread wider as eagle returns to his eternal flight between worlds. From the deep forests where the ancient wisdom keepers dwell among shadows and moonlight, another presence approaches. This is the collective consciousness of the wolf pack, the sacred teachers who demonstrate the power of loyalty and the wisdom of working together while maintaining individual strength and dignity. From the deep wilderness where moonlight filters through ancient forests and the old songs echo in the darkness, the wolf pack approaches. Wolf appears as a being whose intelligence shines through eyes that hold depths of ancient knowing. His powerful form carries the dignity of one who has learned to balance fierce independence with devoted service to family and community. His presence brings teachings about the delicate art of maintaining individual identity while participating fully in collective endeavors. The pack structure that Wolf teaches demonstrates how hierarchy can serve harmony rather than domination when those in leadership positions accept responsibility for the welfare of all pack members rather than using their authority for personal advantage. The alpha leadership that Wolf exhibits shows how true authority emerges naturally from wisdom, experience, and genuine commitment to protecting and providing for others rather than from aggressive displays of dominance that weaken rather than strengthen group unity. The hunting cooperation that Wolf demonstrates reveals how complex, coordinated activities become possible when each participant understands their role while remaining flexible enough to adapt to changing circumstances without losing sight of the shared objective. The communication systems that wolves use to maintain pack coordination include howls that carry across vast distances, body language that conveys complex information, and scent markings that create territorial boundaries while providing information about pack identity and status. The territory maintenance that wolf teaches involves defending the boundaries necessary for pack survival while avoiding unnecessary conflicts that would waste energy and endanger pack members without serving essential purposes. The den selection that wolves make for raising young demonstrates the importance of finding secure locations that provide protection during vulnerable periods while offering access to the resources necessary for successful child rearing and family development. The puppy education that adult wolves provide includes lessons in hunting techniques, pack behavior, communication skills, and the complex social rules that govern successful participation in wolf society while maintaining individual dignity and strength. The seasonal movements that wolf packs make in response to prey migration and weather changes teach about the importance of adaptation and flexibility while maintaining the family bonds and territorial knowledge that provide security and identity. The prey selection that wolves make demonstrates the ecological wisdom of taking primarily the old, sick, and weak individuals from prey populations, thereby strengthening the overall health of the species that serve as their food sources. The endurance running that wolves employ during long hunts shows how persistence and determination can overcome advantages of speed or size when the pursuit is guided by clear purpose and sustained through cooperative effort. The howling ceremonies that wolves conduct serve multiple purposes, including pack assembly, territorial announcements, social bonding, and communication with other packs that may be traveling through or near their territory. The loyalty bonds that wolves form with their pack members demonstrate commitment that extends through difficult periods and dangerous situations, showing how genuine dedication strengthens rather than limits individual freedom and development. The mate selection that wolves practice involves choosing partners based on compatibility and mutual respect rather than mere physical attraction, creating pair bonds that often last for life while strengthening the overall stability of pack society. The family protection that wolves provide for their young extends beyond physical defense to include teaching the skills and knowledge necessary for successful independent existence while maintaining connection to family and pack identity. The healing support that pack members provide for injured or sick wolves demonstrates how community care enables individuals to recover from setbacks that might otherwise prove fatal while maintaining their position within the social structure. The elder respect that wolf packs show toward aging members includes continued protection and provision, even when these individuals can no longer contribute actively to hunting and territorial defense, recognizing the value of accumulated wisdom and experience. The play behavior that wolves engage in throughout their lives serves educational and social bonding purposes, while maintaining the flexibility and creativity necessary for adapting to changing circumstances and solving new problems. The conflict resolution that wolves employ within pack dynamics involves ritualized displays that establish hierarchy and settle disputes without causing serious injury, while preserving the relationships essential for pack survival and cooperation. The teaching stories about Wolf emphasize his role as the loyal companion who can be trusted with the most important responsibilities while demonstrating the courage necessary for protecting family and community from threats that exceed individual capacity to handle. The wolf clans that honor Wolf as their primary spiritual guide understand that his teachings about loyalty, cooperation, and balanced leadership provide essential guidance for human communities seeking to maintain unity while respecting individual rights and dignity. The Vision Quest experiences that involve contact with wolf spirit provide guidance about family responsibilities, community leadership, and the proper balance between personal development and service to collective welfare. The wolf medicine that shamans and healers work with includes understanding of pack dynamics, territorial protection, and the healing power of loyal relationships that provide emotional and spiritual support during difficult periods. The wolf ceremonies that honor these sacred teachers often involve group howling that creates the community bonding and territorial identification necessary for maintaining tribal unity while expressing individual voices within collective harmony. The wolf societies that preserve Wolf's teachings include individuals who have demonstrated the loyalty, courage, and wisdom necessary for positions of responsibility within the tribal community while maintaining the humility that prevents abuse of authority. The tracking skills that wolves demonstrate teach about the importance of careful observation, patient persistence, and the ability to read subtle signs that provide information essential for successful hunting and territorial management. The weather wisdom that wolves possess includes knowledge of how atmospheric changes affect prey behavior and hunting opportunities while influencing pack movement patterns and denning decisions throughout the seasonal cycle. The ecosystem role that wolves play in maintaining balance among prey species demonstrates how predators serve essential ecological functions that benefit entire wildlife communities rather than simply taking what they need for individual survival. The conservation stories that connect wolf populations to ecosystem health show how the presence or absence of these apex predators influences the behavior and population dynamics of numerous other species throughout their habitat range. The reintroduction programs that restore wolf populations to historical ranges demonstrate contemporary recognition of their ecological importance while creating opportunities for renewed spiritual relationships between wolves and human communities. The coexistence strategies that enable wolves and humans to share landscapes without excessive conflict require understanding of wolf behavior and needs while implementing practices that protect both species' essential interests. The mythological connections that link wolves to lunar cycles, shamanic transformation, and otherworldly travel recognize their role as spiritual guides who can help consciousness navigate between different realms of existence. The artistic representations of wolf in Native American traditions include paintings, carvings, beadwork, and textiles that serve ceremonial purposes while preserving and transmitting the sacred teachings associated with these powerful spiritual guides. The children's education that incorporates wolf teachings helps young people understand the importance of family loyalty, community cooperation, and the leadership skills necessary for serving collective welfare rather than personal ambition. The healing ceremonies that draw upon wolf medicine focus on restoring damaged relationships, strengthening family bonds, and developing the emotional courage necessary for facing challenges that require community support. The seasonal ceremonies that honor wolf acknowledge his role in teaching the social skills and cooperative strategies that enable communities to survive harsh conditions while maintaining the cultural values that define tribal identity. The warrior traditions that incorporate wolf teachings emphasize the importance of fighting only when necessary to protect family and community while demonstrating the fierce loyalty that makes such protection effective and meaningful. The leadership training that draws upon wolf wisdom focuses on developing the balanced authority that serves group welfare while maintaining the respect and cooperation of all community members regardless of their individual roles or status. The environmental activism inspired by wolf teachings seeks to protect the wild spaces and ecosystem integrity necessary for maintaining the natural relationships that provide spiritual as well as ecological benefits for all species. The modern applications of wolf teachings include organizational development, family therapy, and community building approaches that utilize understanding of pack dynamics to create healthier human groups and institutions. As Wolf settles into his eternal role as the sacred teacher whose loyalty demonstrates the power of commitment while his cooperation shows how individual strength can serve collective welfare, we can rest in the knowledge that divine wisdom guides the balance between personal freedom and community responsibility. Under Wolf's protection, every act of genuine loyalty becomes a strengthening of the bonds that hold communities together. Every demonstration of cooperative leadership becomes service to the greater good. Every moment of fierce protection for family and community becomes participation in the sacred responsibility that connects individual welfare to collective survival. The pack grows quiet as Wolf returns to his eternal teaching in the deep forests. From all the sacred directions, from mountain peaks and flowing waters, from the hearts of all the spirits we have encountered, the final gathering begins. This is the great council where all native wisdom converges in the sacred understanding that all beings are related in the great web of existence. As our journey through the sacred paths of Native American wisdom draws to its peaceful close, all the spirits we have encountered gather in the eternal circle where past, present, and future meet in the timeless moment of complete understanding. The Great Spirit's presence encompasses all, while every teacher, every element, every animal guide converges to share the ultimate teaching that binds all existence together. In the center of this sacred gathering, the eternal fire burns with flames that have danced since the beginning of creation. This is the flame that Grandfather Fire first brought to illuminate human consciousness. This is the light that connects all beings to their divine source while warming the hearts that remember their sacred relationships. Grandmother Spider's web extends throughout the entire gathering, her silver threads catching the firelight while connecting every participant to every other in patterns of mutual support and shared responsibility. Her patient weaving continues, maintaining the sacred connections that make existence possible. White Buffalo Calf Woman approaches the sacred fire carrying the original pipe, whose smoke has carried countless prayers to the Great Spirit throughout generations of ceremony and devotion. The sacred bowl and stem unite earth and sky in perfect harmony, demonstrating the divine marriage that creates and sustains all life. The four winds circulate through the gathering, each bringing gifts from their sacred directions while maintaining the cosmic breathing that sustains the great circle of existence. East wind carries new beginnings, south wind brings growth and abundance, west wind offers wisdom and release, north wind provides clarity and rest. Grandmother Earth spreads her generous presence beneath the entire assembly, her body providing the foundation, while her spirit nurtures every form of consciousness that has learned to recognize the sacred dimension of material existence. Her patience and generosity encompass all beings without exception. Grandfather Water flows in sacred streams throughout the gathering, carrying life force and purification to every participant, while demonstrating the fluid adaptation that allows consciousness to navigate between different levels of awareness without losing essential identity. Brother Buffalo stands with quiet dignity among the assembled spirits, his massive presence reminding all participants of the abundance that comes through sharing and the strength that emerges when communities work together for mutual welfare rather than individual advantage. Eagle soars overhead in great spirals that connect the earthly gathering to the sky world, where the star nations maintain their eternal council. His flight carries messages between different realms while providing the elevated perspective that reveals how all individual experiences serve larger cosmic purposes. The wolfpack moves through the gathering like flowing shadows, their loyalty and cooperation demonstrating how individual strength can serve collective welfare, while their silent communication shows the deep understanding that transcends the need for words. All the other animal nations gather in their proper places around the sacred circle. Bear brings healing wisdom and the knowledge of when to retreat for inner renewal. Deer demonstrates the gentle alertness that remains ready to leap towards safety while maintaining peaceful presence. Hawk teaches focused attention and precise timing. Turtle carries the patience and stability that provide secure foundation for all other activities. The plant nations offer their gifts to the sacred gathering. Sage provides purification and the clearing of negative influences. Cedar brings protection and the calling in of beneficial energies. Sweetgrass carries prayers to the spirit world and returns with blessings for all participants. Tobacco serves as the sacred messenger that facilitates communication between human consciousness and divine intelligence. The stone people add their ancient wisdom to the sacred circle, their presence connecting the gathering to the geological time that measures existence in cosmic rather than human units. Each stone carries memories of the Earth's formation and the slow processes that create the stable foundation necessary for all life. The water beings contribute their flowing wisdom to the gathering, teaching about adaptation and the gentle persistence that can overcome any obstacle through patient application of steady pressure, guided by clear understanding of ultimate destination. The thunder beings bring their powerful medicine to the sacred circle, demonstrating how divine energy can manifest through natural phenomena while teaching about the proper use of power that serves life rather than dominating it. The directions speak their sacred teachings to the assembled gathering. East shares the wisdom of new beginnings and fresh perspectives. South offers the gifts of growth and creative expression. West provides the teachings of maturity and grateful acceptance. North contributes the clarity that comes from contemplative rest. The seasons add their cyclical wisdom to the great teaching. Spring demonstrates the eternal principle of renewal and the return of life from apparent death. Summer shows the abundance that emerges when all forces work in harmonious cooperation. Autumn teaches gratitude and the wisdom of proper timing for harvest and preservation. Winter offers the deep rest that allows energy to gather for the next cycle of creative expression. The sacred colors paint the gathering with their symbolic meanings. Red represents the life force that flows through all creation. Yellow brings the solar wisdom that illuminates understanding. Black holds the fertile darkness from which new growth emerges. White reflects the pure spirit that underlies all temporary forms. Blue carries the depth and mystery of infinite sky and boundless water. Green embodies the vital force that transforms light into living substance. The sacred numbers organize the gathering according to cosmic mathematics. 4 represents the directions, seasons, and elements that create structure. 7 includes the directions plus earth, sky, and center, encompassing all dimensions of existence. 12 reflects the lunar cycles that govern natural timing. These numbers demonstrate how divine intelligence organizes itself through mathematical relationships that appear throughout natural phenomena. The teaching songs rise from the gathered assembly, melodies that carry the accumulated wisdom of countless generations while expressing the eternal truths that transcend any particular cultural expression. These ancient chants help create the sacred atmosphere where divine wisdom can be received and integrated. The sacred dances begin to move through the gathering, ceremonial movements that embody the cosmic rhythms while allowing participants to express through their bodies the spiritual energies that flow through all existence. Each dance tells stories that preserve essential teachings while creating opportunities for direct spiritual experience. The storytellers share the teaching tales that preserve the most important wisdom in forms that can be remembered and transmitted across generations. These stories contain multiple layers of meaning that reveal deeper truths as consciousness develops the capacity to understand more subtle teachings. The healing ceremonies that emerge from the sacred gathering address not just individual ailments but the collective wounds that affect entire communities when they lose their connection to the sacred dimensions of existence. This healing work helps restore the broken relationships that cause both personal and social dysfunction. The prophecies that flow from the assembled wisdom keepers speak of times when the ancient teachings will be needed more than ever to help humanity remember its proper relationship to the natural world and to each other as members of the same spiritual family. The sacred breath moves through the entire gathering as all participants breathe together in the rhythm that connects individual life to cosmic life. This collective breathing creates the unity that allows separate beings to experience their fundamental interconnection. The great teaching that emerges from this sacred gathering is the understanding that all beings are related in the web of existence that makes individual life possible while connecting every part to the sacred whole that encompasses and transcends all particular manifestations. The phrase "mitakuye oyasin," all my relations, becomes the prayer that acknowledges this fundamental truth while expressing gratitude for the vast network of relationships that support and sustain every moment of existence. Under the protection and guidance of all these sacred teachers, human consciousness can learn to walk the path that honors all life while fulfilling its own unique purpose within the great circle of existence. The ancient ways provide the wisdom needed to live in harmony with natural law while maintaining the spiritual connections that make life meaningful. The sacred fire burns lower as the great gathering prepares to return to their various realms and responsibilities. but the teachings remain alive in every heart that is open to receive them. The connections remain strong for all who remember their sacred relationships. The eternal circle continues its sacred turning, encompassing all beings in the love and wisdom of the Great Spirit whose presence flows through every moment of existence. In the quiet space between sleeping and waking, the ancient voices continue to whisper their timeless teachings to any who have ears to hear and hearts ready to remember their place in the sacred web of all relations. The stars shine down through clear night air as the spirits return to their eternal vigil. And in the gentle darkness, all consciousness can rest in the peaceful knowledge that it is held always in the great circle of sacred relationships that connect every being to every other in the endless dance of existence itself. Sleep comes naturally now, blessed by the spirits who have shared their deepest wisdom through the sacred landscapes of the heart. In dreams, we may return to visit the eternal gathering where all beings celebrate their kinship in the great mystery that creates and sustains the magnificent diversity of life on Turtle Island and throughout all creation.